There is one Republican member of Congress in Connecticut, in fact, all of New England, Chris Shays, and the last couple of elections, he's won some narrow but tough challenges. The toughest could be yet to come. This year's challenger, Democrat Jim Himes. Mr. Himes, thank you for being with us today.
Dennis, it's a pleasure.
First of all, give us a little background on who you are.
Sure. I was brought up the son of a single mother in a small town, two sisters, not a lot of extra money, but I had a lot of opportunity. I worked every job there was to work in that small town, the hardware store, the drugstore, the pizza place. I delivered papers, and I went to a good public school. And you know, that public school opened so many doors for me. I made it to Harvard College, and from there went into business, and I've worked in the nonprofit world doing affordable housing. I'd tell you that my biggest responsibility right now is I'm a father of two girls, Emma and Lindley, and you know, I look at them every day and I ask myself, you know, are we doing all we can for our kids? And I think perhaps not, and that's why I'm sitting here today.
What kind of congressman do you see yourself being if you're elected?
Well, I hope to be a congressman who remembers that there are some fundamental values and ideas that made this country great. The ideas of opportunity, that if you work hard, you can succeed, that rule of law is important. These are ideas that we've gotten away from in the last 6 or 7 years and that I think we need to get back to. And that will always be my core if I'm in Congress.
Chris Shays keeps getting reelected. Why do you think he shouldn't be this year?
Well, Chris Shays has spent 6 or 7 years now really primarily dedicated to promoting a war in Iraq that we now know was really a catastrophic mistake for this country. 4,000 of our sons and daughters lost, untold troops wounded, $500 billion spent that could have been so important to us at a time when we understand that the economy is vulnerable. It could have helped with education, it could have helped with health care, it could have helped with transforming the way we use energy, but those dollars are gone. And so now we face the challenge of fixing some very important and challenging issues in this country with our hands tied behind our back.
The Democrats, you know, won Congress in 2006 vowing to pull the troops out of Iraq and end the war, yet they haven't done it. Their approval rating is actually lower than President Bush's right now. As a member of Congress, what would you do differently to accomplish the goal that they really set out in 2006 to accomplish?
Well, it's been challenging for the Democrats in Congress because, of course, with the president hell-bent on keeping our troops in Iraq, that is what is going to happen. And it is important that Democrats stand up and be very clear where they are on these things. And as a Democratic congressman, and I'll be very clear about this, I will be devoted to national security. That is perhaps the most important thing that our leadership does, is keep this country safe. But our troops engaged in a country that never really posed a danger to us, and still engaged there at a time where we see very real dangers developing in places like North Korea and Iran, is not good national security. And so as a congressman, I would try, I guess, to guide the Congress and the president to really focus on those issues that are safety and security challenges to the American people.
The war in Iraq and national security seems to be fading a little bit as the primary issue in this campaign of 08, and now the economy seems to be coming front and center. What kind of ideas do you have to improve the economy?
Well, I think you're right about that, although I will say that as long as our troops are engaged and in harm's way, that will always be a critical issue and something that we need to focus hard on. But the economy is first and foremost right now on people's minds because it has trotted into their living rooms. And this situation that we find ourselves in, driven by the subprime mortgage crisis now, is causing people to fear for their jobs. And if you fear for your job, you fear for your health care. And concerned that their children may not have the opportunities that they had to succeed. For the first time ever in the history of this country, we are seeing parents look at their children, as I look at my daughters, and say, what kind of a world are we going to leave to them? Are they going to have the chances that I had? And I'm not sure that everybody is comfortable answering that question with a yes anymore.
Congressman Shays is a formidable opponent, certainly, and people have tried what you're doing this year and failed. Have you studied the Dianne Farrell playbook from the past couple of years, and what have you learned from that in terms of what you'll do differently this year?
Well, there's no question that Congressman Shays is resilient, but this year is very different. Look at the wave for change that is developing in the country right now. We see it every time we turn off the television, to the point that the word change has become a cliche. But behind that word is the realization that this isn't political anymore. This isn't Democratic or Republican. This is about returning the country to some fundamental values and ideas that are so important to all of us. And so when I go back, when I walk the district, I hear people saying, you know what? It is time for us to lead once again on things like education, on healthcare, on energy policy. Would we be today where we are if we had led on energy and were independent of the petroleum producing countries in the Middle East? This is a different year because people are looking for new ideas, for vigor, for energy, and we're going to take advantage of that and offer people change.
Barack Obama swept Fairfield County in the Connecticut primary. Would you rather have him at the top of the ticket or Hillary Clinton? Who's better for Jim Himes?
I am supporting the Democratic nominee, and I'll tell you, I have been very, very proud of the Democratic Party, and as this presidential election has developed, offering up just incredibly competent, and look, choose your candidate, but you know what, incredibly competent people. The first time in history we've got an African American and a woman candidate. This is a moment of great pride for the Democratic Party, and I think the candidate ultimately is going to touch on the fact that this isn't about the Democratic Party. This is about returning this country to some fundamental values that we've forgotten in the last 6 or 7 years.
Final quick question for you. On this very program, Senator Joe Lieberman said he wouldn't rule out endorsing Chris Shays against you. How does that make you feel?
Well, again, I'm focused not on the inside politics here, right? This is, I want to represent a district that has enormous challenges around transportation. The transportation situation in the Fourth is strangling our economy. 2 of the 3 Bridgeport high schools were called dropout factories by Johns Hopkins, meaning they don't graduate in excess of 60% of the kids who walk in the door. That's what I will be focused on. We need to fix that. That's an ethical issue, and that's what I'm going to be focused on in this campaign.
Jim Himes, candidate for Congress. Nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see